Hello, class. We are going to talk about the team meeting. I hope you're doing well as we enter into week 3. This team meeting assignment has a lot of moving parts to it. So I'm making a video about the assignment. And I have the assignment open here, so I'm just going to go through it. You've already had some signaling. I've talked a little bit about it in the intro of the class. I have also have a lot of instructions. Go to the Start Here module to see virtual meetings and communication conduct that we need to agree to do this assignment and create a supportive learning group. So the team meeting is a way for us in an online modality to stay connected with each other. One of the things I love about being a student in a classroom, because I'm usually lost. I don't know about you, but I get confused fast. What is going on, right? And I love that moment in a classroom when I can lean over and go, do you know what's going on? I'm so confused. Or or like, oh, what did they just say? Did you understand that? I love asking those questions of fellow classmates and getting to know the people who are sitting around me. So in a way, think about this team meeting as you're just talking to the people who are sitting around you in the classroom and you're going over information in the class. And that's the best way to think about it. There are some things that you need to come to your meeting prepared for, and we'll talk about that and some of the purposes of when I was creating this assignment, besides that first one. All right. So as the assignment opens, you can scan down and you can see I've divided the class up into teams. Find which team you're in. Oh boy, if you see your name listed twice or if it's not listed at all, let me know right away as soon as possible so that I can get in there and get you added into a team or take you out of a team, however it works out, whichever mistake I've made. So keep me informed. Once you find your team, one person in the team will probably start some way of communicating, or if everybody's uh, gets right out there, decide which thread, so you don't get distracted. We'll all use so-and-so's thread if two go out at the same time, just find the one that works best for everybody. I suggest the inbox on Canvas. On the inbox in Canvas, what I like about it is once you click into it and you populate the class, as you start writing your team names into the to line, uh, then it should auto-populate those names, and then you can get a thread going right away. The disadvantage to inbox on Canvas, and I wish they would change this, is reply and reply all are not easy to navigate or choose between. Actually, I'm gonna go and look in there right now. Where the reply button is, there's 3 ellipses, and that is where you find the reply all. Otherwise, it's not as easy to find quickly. And you definitely want to reply all in an assignment like this. Part of this assignment is how we include others and keep everyone informed of the information as you move forward. That is one of the aspects of this assignment. So in truth, what I like to say is the assignment starts as soon as you open the assignment. That's when it begins, because all the communication and the way that you prepare for the meeting is part of the assignment. Not just when you push record, even though that's an essential piece. That piece will demonstrate everything that's happened before. So make sure you take care of all those pieces leading up to it. And the first one, of course, is start a communication thread with your team. Now, once you are in a team meeting I will have a question. Usually every meeting will have a question of when is the next meeting? So you can start proactively making a plan for the whole term. So you could, in the meeting, look ahead at all the due dates for the team meetings and get everyone to agree on putting it on the calendar. Now, with some flexibility, of course, because we can't see into the future, and maybe a check-in, your team can decide that, or just decide when the next meeting will be and then do that cascading along. And also, one of the things, check with all your team members if you want to move the conversation from an email Canvas inbox to a chat or texting, depending on what's available for others. Make sure you check in with everybody before deciding to do that to see if it will work. You could also use the Gmail, our university's Gmail account, because in Google Gmail, there's a chat option, and you could create a group chat in our Google Mail, or you can do the texting or another app if everybody has access to it. So those are just some ideas. I bet you all have other ideas that could work as well, depending on your group. Each group is unique, so to talk about it with everyone once you're in the meeting. It is a communication class, so communicating on how you're going to communicate in this meeting is part of the assignment. Now, this is different than other group assignments. Whenever we have group assignments traditionally, at least the way I've seen them done and have been a student for many, many years, is that you get assigned a group, or somehow you have a group, whether it's chosen or assigned, and then you have a research project to do or some creative project, and you have to put together this project with this group of people, pull all the resources together and submit it. And usually there's some type of presentation due with the paper. That's what I consider a traditional group project style. This one is a little bit different. You're recording a meeting. So you're in a communication class. So I'm going to be observing, how do you communicate with others? I'm not going to have you debating, but you might have to like say, actually, what I saw in that video was this. I thought this was, and you might have a disagreement about the way you're interpreting things, but mostly the purpose of the meeting is not to debate or disagree. It's really to just have a chance to express your perspective on the materials that we're covering in class, and to check in on the process of the class and other things, right? So we're going to use the meeting as a meeting. It's really just a meeting. So we have the conversation norms in the start here, team meeting information, and that's where you'll find virtual online conduct. I did list a few of the norms in the assignment itself, and the norms in the assignment, or the conversation instructions in the assignment, are basically the norms that I'm starting you with. So one of my norms that I'm adding is that everyone answer each question before you go to the next question. And then how you do that, some teams really like to have the order be more improvisational, or like a popcorn style. We'll just jump in. Oh, I have something to add. And some teams like a more process. One of my favorite ones was, I had a team, and I thought this was a great norm they established, and they continued it through all 4 of their meetings, is they decide on the order 1, 2, 3, 4. One would start with the very first question that I have. They'd read that first question, and then they would answer it. And then it would go 2, 3, 4. And then The second person would read the second question and they would answer it, and then it'd be 3, 4, 1. Are you see where I'm going with this? And then the third person would read the question, answer it, and be the first person to answer. I like this because I like to see people answer first sometimes and not always be the last person, because once we've had so many answers, you might feel like someone else stole your thunder. Oh, I was going to say that. Uh, and then once you come to being first, you have a chance to articulate an idea right out of the gate. And I really like that idea. So maybe some of you will adopt that one, or maybe you'll do a more improvisational popcorn style. If someone answers one of the questions and they chose this video and you're like, oh, that was the video I was going to choose, then, then present it, your video, present that video also. It's not like you have to quickly look back at all the videos and choose a different one. You don't have to do that. I don't mind if there's a repeated video, but I do need to hear how you might add a different interpretation to it or articulate the interpretation in your own words. Because part of this assignment is I'm listening to how you can incorporate and add vocabulary into the your the way you present things. So it's not like, oh, I chose that video and I was going to say the same thing. Next. No, I would like for then talk about it and get that book. I need to hear you using the vocabulary and how you are presenting ideas. Okay. My other norm is extemporaneous. So do not come to these meetings with pre-planned statements ready to read out loud. I am listening for a conversational style. I'm listening just like I'm doing now. I'm doing extemporaneous. I have some notes here that I've prepared. I'm looking at the assignment to help guide me, but I haven't memorized. I have not an actress. Well, sometimes I act, but I have not memorized the speech for you. Uh, and I'm not reading it off the teleprompter. Here's what that would sound like. I don't like it. The next conversation instruction is time, assign one or more people the tasks of making sure there is equity in speaking time. The time does not need to be exact. It is normal for people to have it's just not as interesting to listen to. So if reading, there's a lot of habits people do with reading that also in the way their breathing rhythms and not knowing how to create emphasis. These things is one of the reasons, a few of the reasons only why it's difficult. But mostly we're trying to change our communication style to elevate our vocabulary and critical thinking skills. So this assignment is your communication lab, right? We just like you're in a science class, you have a lab where you do the experiments, right? Or you try and get in there and apply it. Think of your team meeting as our communication lab where we're going to practice. All right. So about that time, which is my other norm, when I say tracking time, there's different ways that things you should be tracking. We should be tracking just the meeting in general. If you have a recording platform that is free, it usually comes with a limited time to be in the meeting and a limited time to record. So if you are using that, the person who's tracking time in the meeting should be aware of that time. And if we need to stop the meeting and restart it to create a second video, because I do ask for quite a bit of conversation time that might exceed a free account. So make a plan to submit 2 videos, or you can call the Woo computer office, and I have the contact information in the Start Here module, and see if they can temporarily give you a professional level Zoom account or a more elevated one with that might have a longer recording time, just tell them you're in a class and you need access to that for the term. I've had students do that and tell me they've been able to get a better account, Zoom account through the school. So try that. If you do that, please send me a message and let me know how it went so that I can keep passing those tips along to other students. Or if it's not working anymore, we can rewind that and make sure everyone knows uh, that it's not working. Okay, so that was just a little side, but back to the time. So you might need to that part of the time. It's also the other thing we should be tracking is time is how much time people are talking as individuals. And that's a little less strict, like I don't need down to the minute or second because everyone has a different speaking rhythm. We all have different personalities or dealing with different issues, like we might be in a public space that's really loud and it's hard to keep us on unmute, or we might have family or different things happening around in the background that we have to keep ourselves on mute unless it's our turn to speak or if we have something we want to add. So there's a lot of different factors that could change the speaking time for each person. However, I want, even if it's a little different, I don't want it to be a lot different, right? So my extroverts who are really good at expressing ideas and articulating things and getting information out there, that's great. And they, we really rely on our extroverts to kind of, especially if anyone has any speaking anxiety, an extrovert can really help us out to get through a conversation or a meeting like this. However, if someone is very dominant in the conversation and someone is not, you're both going to lose points in this assignment because I am looking for some ability to have self-awareness and how to move into a dialogue, not a monologue situation. Another thing that sometimes happens, which is why we need a timekeeper, is that sometimes someone is very enthusiastic about the dialogues and the conversations. And when someone, let's say it's number three's turn to share their example, sometimes there's another person who's just so excited. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're using that as an example. That happened to me once. And then they go off onto a monologue about that. And if that person does that for every single person who talks, they start getting kind of lopsided in a weird patchwork kind of way with other people's speaking styles, that person always has to jump in for every single person, which I do like it when we do that. I don't want to, this is a conversation, so we need that. But we should be aware that everybody should be sharing the burden of reciprocity, and it shouldn't be dominated by one person in particular. So this is another thing to become self-aware about our conversational style in our lab, experimental communication lab. Dun, 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 right? So you might get some comments from me if I'm noticing this style of yours. So really think about who you are in conversation, and the assignment is to become more self-aware. I will give a lot of notes about that. So again, just to wrap up on time, it's okay if people have different speaking times. There might be someone who speaks more than others, but it shouldn't be a contrasting difference of someone who's speaking more and someone who hardly is speaking at all. That's what I will be more concerned with than just a little differences. Okay, and I just used the word reciprocity, which I'm looking down here. Uh, I do expect reciprocity, and so you could ask questions, you could add an experience or a class video or an article we read or the lecture. Oh, that reminds me of when in Sarah's Tiny Desk lecture presentation, she said, blah, 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 right? Oops, tapped my lamp. I get very excited with my gestures. Those of you who have to watch these videos know that I'm a lot of hand movements. Okay. Let's see. So that's what to do with reciprocity. The thing about reciprocity too on Zoom, turn taking signals is more difficult than when we used to just be in person because we might have our internet might be on a little bit of delay to someone else's video, and so we might think we are jumping in on a pause, but really someone else has already started talking. Those moments are a little awkward. Try and have like a little bit of a sense of humor about this modality and its flaws. No need to get frustrated. It all gets worked out in the end. And with the no, you go, no, you go. Right? Okay, so it all seems to work out. And the other thing about being in person with turn taking signals is we see a lot more nuance of nonverbals. We kind of have other things that are happening, other channels that we're interpreting nonverbal messages to know when it's our turn or not. And this is why the framing of your video is really important. It's also why I need you to record in gallery mode. Do not turn a video in speaker mode, which if I was in a conversation with other people, speaker mode is the one where it looks like it's just one person at a time and then someone else needs to talk. But I'm also observing your nonverbal listening skills as well. And I can't do that if I'm only seeing the person who's talking. So if you're in Zoom, and I don't know how this works for all platforms, but you can Google it if you're using a different one. At the very top corner, there's a little button that says view, and you can go down and choose gallery mode, and then it'll populate your screen into those boxes. And I'm pretty sure there's a way to freeze your boxes or make them aligned so everybody has the same order on their screen. Again, Google those instructions or go to the Zoom website to their Q&A board or frequently asked question board for some instructions on how to do that. YouTube usually has a good demo videos. You can find those. If you find any good information links or videos that you think the whole class might appreciate, send those along to me and I'll post them. Okay. The other part, so you will get into your meeting. When you're looking at the conversation questions format, I'm creating a foundation so that the process goes smoothly and you hit the points that I want. So I'm just creating a foundation of structure. I've watched these videos for years from students. I've been doing this for since the beginning of the pandemic because I missed that in classroom make a friend with the person sitting next to you conversations that popped up. So that's one of the first reasons why I was trying to find a way for everybody to still have a way to connect since we were all very remote and isolated. So this assignment was very popular in the beginning. And now that we've adjusted and I'm teaching in person and online, I really like to make sure that you have still access to networking with each other. So I'm going to start the first couple questions with introducing yourself and then entering into a conversation about how we're going to track time, our norms. You can review some of my norms, but you can also add in your own. What are things that you feel like need to be a part of it if you have a conversation preference, or if you know something about your own conversational style and you want to flag everyone, hey, I have as a tendency to go on and on and on, or I have a tendency to interrupt, whatever it is that you know yourself, or I have a tendency to not talk at all. And I'm feeling some anxiety about this assignment. Like, meta communicate some things in norms to signal to your group the things that you would like them to help you with to get through the assignment or other things. So it's okay. Meta communication is communication about communication. That's basically what I'm asking for when I'm asking you to discuss communication norms. This comes to another important moving part is when you open team meeting 2, you will see introduce yourself again, and you will see discuss norms again. You'll be like, wait, I know everybody's name, especially by the 4th meeting where you're like, why are we introducing ourselves again? This is a very important practice for teams because it's really one of those, when people say their name out loud in a group setting, for some reason, the evidential research about this is that it will make people more willing to speak up, even if they have a critical point or a dissenting opinion. People are more willing to express that if they said their name at the beginning of the meeting. We know that this is a practice with surgeons in surgery rooms, surgeons who have a team of surgical nurses and other important essential workers in a surgery room. Everybody will go around the room and say their name and what their job is, even if they work together for 20 years. For 20 years, they'll still do that, because what we know is that we need people to have agency in a surgical room. If that someone notices a mistake or they're not sure about the blood pressure, if the difference in the surgery rooms of people who don't say their names at the beginning and after is the difference of life and death. So, and I love that information that I read in the book Checklist by Atul. Oh my gosh, it sounds good. Grande, Atul Grande. That book Checklist is excellent for anyone in the medical field. I recommend it. But so of course we're not in a life and death situation, but we are trying to do best practices for meetings and dialogue, and introducing yourself is that way. That's usually where we'll start adding in the icebreaker question as the meetings go on. But just be clear that it has a very specific purpose. Okay. The other thing about the structure, once we get into the introduction, is then we get into the middle of the meeting, and this is the meat of the meeting. This is where I'm really going to be listening to the vocabulary and the reciprocity and how you are articulating ideas. So my prompts are really ways for you to articulate the ideas of the class. I might ask you, what was your favorite video, or what stood out to you in the reading, or in our first video, or in our first one, I sometimes put in a video. Watch this video before the meeting, and then respond to the video with vocabulary from the class. And this one, I like this type of question because everyone's watching the same video. Sometimes, most of the time, it's everyone's choosing something different. Even if you sometimes choose the same thing, you still choosing something different. But this one, I'm looking for you. How do you have a conversation about the video? Or how do you have a conversation if I ask you, choose 3 questions to stump your professor, or choose 3 vocabulary words that you think are the most essential vocabulary words from this week. And the reason I do that, to create a constraint, is to up the ante on creativity, dialogue, problem solving, to see how you're working together as a group. And that means that, like, when you decide how to what your team name is, right? You have to create a team name. Everyone comes with some ideas. It might feel really awkward. Whose idea are we going to choose? Uh, make sure everyone's voice is included in these dialogues. That will be something I will also be listening for. I really enjoy the team meetings. I enjoy when they get submitted. It is one of my favorite assignments on this side. I'm obsessed with YouTube because of the way our class is designed, and I'm obsessed with podcasts. I listen to YouTube videos or that are also podcasts, that conversations all the time. If you ever want to know some of my faves, I love talking about that. Some of the podcast videos I listen to are 3 to 4 hour long conversations. Like they're long. And I think you should not be afraid to have your video go long because I will listen to the whole thing. And that's why if you have to make a second video, do so. And then upload both videos. The other thing is keep an eye on those submissions. Everyone needs to submit, even though the host, whoever created the is the host for creating the link for the meeting, the virtual meeting. They're the only ones uploading the video itself. But everyone needs to submit including the host, the team name, the names of all the people in your meeting, and then please indicate who is submitting the video. If someone was missing, include that, and make sure you check the syllabus for my late work policy, and including the fact that if I will accept your team meeting late, even though I have a due date on it, I will accept it up to almost a week late. Just keep me informed that it's coming in late. I don't mind that, because if it means that you had to include everyone, then please do that. My other tip here please don't be afraid to submit it late, is what I'm saying with that last piece. The other tip I have is if you're having trouble with your laptop, you can use the Zoom app on your phone. It's a little more difficult to use. Please, please do not be driving and try and be in a Zoom meeting. I find it incredibly frightening when I see students driving. It's also because you have to have your camera on. It becomes really distracting to see the movement behind you through the windows and the lights flashing if you're driving at night, and headlights or whatever's going on. So please have some level of respect in the way that you show up in your meeting for others. I know sometimes someone's in a moving car and someone else is driving. That doesn't bother me as much, but still be aware of the way you're framed up and the way the video is flashing lights and things like that for other people. Check with your team if there's any special needs that anyone has with that piece. I'm trying to think. Okay. I feel like there's something else. I'm with this assignment, I could talk for another 30 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's a complicated assignment. But you can text me questions or send me a message if you want to talk about anything specifically. I hope this information was helpful to get going with this assignment, and I'm looking forward to everyone's videos and submissions. Have a good day. Bye-bye.